Welcome to Deep in the Plus. I'm your host, Rob Whiteside. Tonight we are going to be celebrating our 101st Deep in the Plus review, and with me is my good friend Desi. How are you?
Hello. Sorry, I had to find the mute button. Good evening.
Desi, when we talked about this being the 101st episode, the first thing you said was, oh, we should totally do 101 Dalmatians. Now, since we just did Tangled as our 100th, and we did Encanto just before that, I thought, you know what, we're probably a little thick on all the Disney animated shows. So then you immediately said what?
Cruella. I mean, what else?
And you're dressed for the occasion.
I try my best, darling.
Yeah, this is going to be a long night. You're very fashion forward anyway, so I'm sure this movie was right up your alley. But I got to say that, this
Fashion
was one...
forward being I shop at the creation shop.
We're not going to talk about that. What I would like to talk about, though, is how this movie was one that was delayed because of COVID. Many were. It was supposed to be released in December of 2020, and they didn't actually start shooting it, I don't believe, until right around then. It came out, I believe, in like May of the next year. And when it came out, it was one of those that came out on Disney Plus Premiere and in the theaters. You didn't see it at that time on either, did you?
I saw it for the first time last night.
So clearly you were the right choice.
It.
Yeah, you were the right choice, the super fan to bring on for this one. So I appreciate that. But that's okay.
I mean, it's no Brink.
We're not going to talk about Brink either. Or Bruno. We're not going to talk about any of those. The funny thing is that when you go and you search like 101 Dalmatians on Disney Plus, you get a lot of stuff. There's the original 101 Dalmatians. There's the
10 Things I Hate About You.
Okay, let's calm down. You are
Let's
just
review
like
that one.
This is like short attention span theater with you. So 101 Dalmatians, the movie with Glenn Close, the live action, the first live action, and then there was this show called 101 Dalmatian Street. Didn't even know that existed until Disney Plus.
Nope.
And then we had 101 Dalmatians 2. Patch's London Adventure, and then the live-action 102 Dalmatians, and the TV show 101 Dalmatians, and then Cruella. There's a lot of Dalmatians on Disney Plus.
Who knew? I didn't know.
Yeah, I didn't either. But it's funny to me that they made the live-action one 101 Dalmatians, the sequel 102 Dalmatians, but the sequel to the animated is 101 Dalmatians Part 2. I mean, it's weird. The numbering system's way off. But either way, this is sort of a prequel to the 101 Dalmatians with Emma Stone starring as Cruella de Vil. The thing that gets me about this too is she is the only, to my knowledge, the only American in here who is pretending to be British. Did that throw you off at all, or did you kind of buy into that at some point along the way?
Okay, so the guy who plays Horace, I thought was also American, and if he's not, then he does a great American accent on Cobra Kai, which is my other favorite TV show, other than Boba Fett right now.
Yes, Boba Fett. Yeah, honestly, I think he is British, but we would have to look that up. So this is the origin story, and I think part of when I watch this, I'm thinking, do we need an origin story for Cruella? I liken this one very much to Maleficent, where we're finding out what makes a villain bad. What is your motivation? Because when we meet Cruella in the animated, she's already a horrible human being. We never really care about her backstory. We just know that she wants to kill those puppies. And then we hate her. So it's interesting.
I mean, anybody who wants to kill puppies, I hate immediately. I don't know about you.
It's a pretty good rule of thumb. You're really going out on a limb there making that statement. So next thing you're probably going to want to say is like vegetables are good. I don't know how much you want to stretch yourself. So when you go into watching this movie, you have some background of the fact that this is from 101 Dalmatians, I assume. You could go into this, though, not knowing anything about the original movie and still enjoy it for what it is.
My husband hasn't seen 101 Dalmatians and wasn't aware of the backstory that much. So when she met Horace and Jasper, I was like, oh! Or when she met Anita, I was like, oh, Anita! And he's like, that means nothing to me.
Well, we'll talk a little bit about that. I do think though that it's that same sort of a thing where she's nice. We see that she is trying, And then as she's going through her life, we see where things twist and turn, and maybe things don't go so well for her, and that's what makes her the person she is. Now, when we leave the end of this one, she's not really yet, I don't think, the horrible, horrible person that we'll know come 101 Dalmatians, but this is really, you know, that, again, that sort of origin story of why is she the way she is. So you said you guys watched this for the first time the other night together. Does your husband sit there and go, Desi, why are we watching this?
Yes, and he also wants to know when we're doing Flight of the Navigator.
We talked about
It's
this.
his brink.
It's fun. You guys are pushy, and that's fine. That's fine. I love it. So tell me when, do you have an affinity for the original 101 Dalmatians?
I mean, I liked it growing up, and I tried showing it to my kids recently, and they had no interest in it. So I got about as far as the Cruella de song before they were asking for Mickey Mouse Clubhouse again. I keep trying to watch anything other than Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, but that's all
Yeah.
I'm getting.
No, that's fine. That's a good staple to have in the house. I mean, you know, bring them up right. I do wonder sometimes when I'm watching these older movies that I watch, and I know that our good friend Neko has been going through watching all of the 60 full-length animated features, and Kanto being the 60th, Snow White being the first. When I go back and watch them, a lot of it's just nostalgia for me that it's part of the Disney company that I want to watch it and kind of like understand, you know, those movies and know them very well. Bambi, Dumbo, Pinocchio, but a lot of them are super sad, and a lot of them are super like slow in their pacing. So I can understand why little kids would go, not really sure that you know 101 Dalmatians is for me. But honestly, I think it was to me one of the better ones when I was growing up. But who knows? So let's talk about the story a little bit. When it first opens up, we see something very similar to the last review we did on Tangled. Is that when that movie opens up, Flynn Rider says like something about this is, you know,
This is the story of how I died.
right, which is very similar to this one, that she opens up with this necklace and this is the reason that she died. So again, you kind of have that same vibe or same start to this. But honestly, the way that it starts is the way that any good old-fashioned Disney movie opens up, with the screams of a child being born and a painful childbirth, right? I mean, nothing screams Disney more than a woman giving birth.
I mean, at least she didn't die in childbirth like a lot of other Disney moms.
I mean, it honestly, in the first,
Or
I don't know,
maybe.
20 seconds feels like an episode of Downton Abbey.
I mean, probably more than that. I don't know. I haven't watched Downton Abbey, but
I
I
haven't
can see
either.
that.
I'm just saying, it's like, you know, it's got that period piece thing going, and the woman is giving birth in the bed in her house. Just very strange. But again, a very
My
interesting opening.
my best friend gave birth at her house, not me. I was like, hospital. Give me, put me out of any kind of pain at all.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go ahead and move us off this topic, and we're going to talk about like you know, young Cruella. And when she starts out, she still has the Sia hair, and she is very rambunctious. She's very, like we said, fashion forward. She wants to be a designer from a young age, and her mom is trying to convince her to be calm, cool, and collect, to be good. And she is struggling with that because she kind of ends up finding herself in trouble over and over again. And so we see her finding herself in trouble in school, even though she goes in with the best of intentions. She gets kicked out because she gets all these marks in a book. And I think I've heard the expression like marks in your book or marks in your ledger. And yet at the same time,
hmm
I don't think I'd ever seen it until this movie.
I never had either.
Did you look at
I
it and
always thought that
say
was
to your husband, this is a good idea for us for parenting?
no.
Just to, just no, okay. All right, just making sure. So she gets kicked out of the school, and her mom is taking her to London. And on the way there, she's got to make this stop to ask a friend for a favor. She gets to this party, and she's saying, "Okay, I'm going to try to be good here." But then she ends up going into the party, and then when she comes out, she sees that her mom is talking to this person, and that you know, these dogs who have been chasing her fly past her, run, and push her mom off a cliff. And now she thinks she's killed her mom. The interesting thing to
Yikes.
me is that there's this dog whistle that you hear at the time, which I don't think when I first watched the movie I was looking for that. So when you
No, me
watched it the
either.
first time, I don't know if you heard it the first time or not. Probably not.
I think I heard it and I thought it was somebody telling the dogs, trying to tell the dogs to stop, and the dogs didn't stop.
That would be a good guess. And in this, when we were meeting the Dalmatians, these three Dalmatians for the first time, the Dalmatians are evil. They're like they're almost like it's
Yeah.
like a reverse. Cruella's good, Dalmatians bad. Like they've done this, like right? Like they've done this switch now.
I
So
mean, I would be terrified of Dalmatians if that was my only interaction with them.
so you would not have a Dalmatian plantation.
I wouldn't. I mean, I wouldn't have a Dalmatian plantation anyways. I wouldn't
Gotcha.
have a Chihuahua plantation. 101 of any kind of animal seems like too many.
Okay, fair, fair. All right. So as we're going through, and she's now feeling like she's killed her mom. She makes her great escape. She leaves this thing. Now she feels like she's responsible for this. She goes, jumps into a truck, knocks herself out, shows up in London, and then meets up with Horace and Jasper, these two other kids that she kind of follows and then befriends. And so when she goes and follows them into this like empty warehouse that they're living in, she decides that this is the moment where she's just gonna kind of leave this world behind of this Cruella or this Estella life and be this new person. So one thing I kind of missed is early on, her mom told her that because her name is Estella, that sometimes when you're being bad, you're Cruella. And so I feel like her mom sort of divided the personalities early on. Maybe I don't know. So just a good parenting tip not to do that with your kids. But when she finally learns like that she's gonna have to blend in, she colors her hair, and then we have this big montage of now grown up Emma Stone and telling us about how she and Horace and Jasper, they do all these grifts and she makes the costumes and how fun it is and how much she enjoys the thrill of stealing things. And then we see her stealing stuff from a hotel room, and then it ends at her birthday, I believe, at that point where Jasper gives her this letter that says she's been accepted to work at this department store that she's been in love with and always wanted to work in.
And she's friends with Prince Charles.
According to her CV, I don't know what they said. I think they mean her resume, but I don't really remember what they said. They said a lot of British things, Desi, that I didn't really follow too well. So that montage scene and the scene where she's following the boys into the building, both of those are very cinematic. I don't know if you caught on to that at first watch or not, but it's very cinematic. They follow, like the camera follows the boys up through the building, and that's kind of cool. Or when they're like grifting on the trolley, this whole thing, it's almost just like a ballet as the camera goes through. And there's a lot of those like long shots when she first
Yeah,
starts working in the
that
yeah.
when she first starts working at the department store and you see the camera going through the department store all the way down to where she is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's supposed to look like one long shot, like a 1917 kind of thing.
And I wonder, when like I'm sort of such a dork when it comes to movies, I'm looking at like where was there possible like a place to cut? Like where would
Oh
it have
yeah,
been
I did that
so
too.
so that they don't like have to do one long shot like that, because in that particular camera shot they come down through the ceiling, which as soon as they pass through the glass that could have been a CGI effect, and then they swoop down and then they follow people through the store and then through a door that opens and then down the stairs and around the corner and into a bathroom that she's cleaning. So this job is not what she had anticipated it being, the luxury
I
of
don't think
working
she
at
needed
Liberty.
to fake her CV to get that job.
No, and I think if this is where you put people who know Prince Charles from Polo, this is not a good lesson for anybody, I don't think. So,
No.
as we're going through and learning about this, there are a lot of interesting caricatures of characters. I think that the store manager is definitely one. I think that the character we meet later, which I'd love to talk about, is Art. Because as in Work of, he is again very over the top of a caricature. Even Horace, and a little bit Jasper, but more Horace is just like a caricature of a person, and so they're just very big personalities. And I think that it's interesting how well it works in this whole thing. So when she's in that store, she meets the Baroness, which is this great fashion designer of the day, and the Baroness has noticed her work, that she has basically vandalized the department store window. Everybody loves it, and then she says, "Hey, you're going to have a job. Come work for me." And then she shows up the next day to work for her in her house. So
Is that in her house?
I guess that's not her house. I guess that's her office. It looks
Yeah.
like a house. It actually looks like where the prime minister lives, honestly, when I was seeing the front of that building. So um, at this point, again, we're still learning about Estella. We haven't gotten to the Cruella part of everything. It's just we're still learning about Estella and her relationship with Horace and Jasper, and then her dreams and aspirations. The whole time Horace is like, "What's the grift? What's the plan? What's the game here? What's the angle?" Is what he keeps saying. How are we gonna take this Liberty place for all it's worth? And she's like, "No, this is just my dream." So she's trying to go straight here, and then
Mm-hmm.
she never gets a chance to do it because I guess she feels like she's forced into getting drunk, vandalizing the window, but that takes her on a good path. She's being herself on that one. At this
Or
point,
she's
again,
being Estella.
yes, she's being
Who
Estella.
I think she thinks her true self is Cruella.
Maybe. What is that? How you feel? Do you have two different sides to your personality? Is that what I'm seeing?
No.
There's there's the skater girl that loves Brink, and then there's the one that's like the mom that takes her kids to Epcot. No.
Yes. I guess those are my two sides.
Well, I mean, do you
Soul skater, soccer mom.
let me ask you this question, because this is, again, it's a Disney movie. It's based on 101 Dalmatians. Is this something that before you watched it, you would have taken your kids to see?
No. I mean, they didn't even like the first 101 Dalmatians. They're not big on live action in general. So, no, we waited until after they went to sleep to watch this.
But not just because of the fact that you are that they're you were afraid of the content, but more along the lines of, they wouldn't care for it.
Right. Yeah. I
Okay.
think that I didn't realize that there was going to be violence in it. So maybe if I knew that, then I would have said no because of the content, but no, just because it didn't seem like it would be up their alley.
Speaking of violence, when she takes um, Estella under her wing, the Baroness. She takes her, and she's working as one of the designers on the floor of her business. And when she makes this great dress, she has this like switchblade she uses, or this, I guess it's like a barber's razor that she pulls out so that she can like basically cut the dresses up to look like she wants them to. And then there's this very cold move that she does when she accidentally cuts Estella, and she holds her hand up, and rather than thinking to herself, "Oh, this is a shame, I wish I hadn't cut you," she's like, "Hey, this color red, the fabric department, can you bring me something in this color red so I can use this as a compliment color?"
I mean,
That's
it's a much prettier color than that green dress.
it's just
So,
efficient, actually, if you think about it, though, right? It's just flat out efficient, I think. Um,
is that how you work?
yes, exactly. Yeah, I just throw things on the ground, and if it makes a pretty color, then I try to match the Pantone and see if it's right for me. Um, I honestly, one of the things that strikes me about this scene too is that Emma Thompson, who plays the Baroness, is actually playing, to me, like sort of Cruella. I mean, she acts as the character that we know as Cruella. Kind of the doesn't seem to care about anybody, fixated on herself, doesn't care who she hurts to get what she wants. Very much like the Glenn Close character was in the original live action, very much like Cruella was in the first one. So I don't know if that's on purpose or not. Do you think that's on purpose that it's set up that way?
I did not think of it that way. I thought of it as the first half of the movie was The Devil Wears Prada.
You know,
If you've ever seen that movie, that's
that's de-
exactly how I felt. She was Meryl Streep in The Devil Wears Prada.
well. The funny thing is I was watching it, I was like, I don't remember who played that character, and it was Meryl Streep, and I thought for a second, was that Emma Thompson? But she would have been probably too young at that point. So as now Estella has entered into the cutthroat world of fashion, or cut arm world of fashion, she decides that she's going to go and she's going to check out this secondhand store that she sees, where there's a dress in the window that is an original Baroness dress, and this is where she meets Art, as in work of. And this is
What a
actually,
great way to introduce yourself. I wish I could come up with something clever like that, but I guess Desi just, there's nothing that goes with it.
I mean, you got a better shot than I
I,
do of coming
I
up with
always go
something
with
creative.
Desi, like Arnez. That's the best I've got. Or like Lucy and.
Okay. Yeah, that seems like probably the best way to do that. Okay.
There's
But
nothing
this
good to go with
character is
Desi.
fantastic. And I don't think I've seen this guy in anything else, or at least nothing else that I've watched. But he is just perfect. Again, he's a very, it's like a caricature, over the top. He loves everything about Estella. They click instantly. She says something about, I need some help, about, I want to do something that's going to get me in trouble, and he's like, I'm in. That's you got to stop the sale. I'm ready to go.
I want
Um,
to be best friends with this guy.
yeah, I mean, me same, because he seems super fun. Um, so then there's a scene where the Baroness takes Estella to her actual house, and I don't know why she wouldn't have noticed at this point that this is the place where she was when her mom died. Like,
Because it wasn't 10 minutes ago for her, it was 10 years ago.
okay.
So I'm probably not going to remember a building that I had only been to once when I was 10 years old.
When something horribly tragic happened, I think that would be burned into my memory. I'm just putting that out there. But she doesn't seem to make the connection that this is where all this went down. So it's not until
It
she
was
actually,
also dark that night versus it's daylight now.
yeah, okay, all right. If you don't think so, that's fine. Um, so then when she's here, she sees the necklace that she had left behind. It was a necklace that her mom had said, this is a family heirloom. You're going to inherit it one day. And then she hands the necklace to her before she gets out of the car, so it doesn't go over the cliff with the mom. And then when she runs away, she accidentally leaves it on the ground. And now we've, made the connection, or I guess she's made the connection, that this is the same woman who was there the night that her mom died. So then now things are taking a turn for her. She's got a new purpose. It's not just to be this fashion person. It's to get the necklace back, and if it means it, get her revenge, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing I thought was interesting was when Emma, what what is the
Stone.
Baroness? The
Okay.
Baroness. When the Baroness said, "Oh, it's a family heirloom," and Cruella or Estella was like, she didn't even think about it being a family heirloom. She wasn't like, "Oh, I wonder if this woman was related to my mother. Maybe they're sisters." Like that didn't come up at all in her train of thought. Like I thought it was supposed to be my family heirloom.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's weird. I would say
I
though
like
that
that. I like that.
transition. You can call
Yeah.
it a transition. That's fine. I do like though this point. Now, earlier in the movie, when she's in school, she meets this little girl, and her name is Anita Darling. And
Is
so,
Anita's last name Darling in the movie in 101
uh,
Dalmatians?
that I don't know.
Because if it is, that's just crazy
Because of Wendy Darling.
because of Wendy Darling and then Jim Deere and Darling. There's a lot of darlings in the Disney.
It was a beautiful time to be alive. That's all I have to say. Everybody was a darling. Everybody was a darling except for Roger. And so we meet Roger later.
Oh,
He is actually her lawyer for some strange reason.
yeah.
So,
And I was like, why is he a lawyer? Isn't he supposed to be a songwriter?
no, yes. But I mean, I think he has a day job in the first one, but
I
yeah.
thought that that was his job. He was like a jingle maker.
I think we need to go back and watch the original again. So when I'm watching this, I'm thinking very similar to Phantom Menace, where it's like, why did you have to make C-3PO being made by Anakin? Like, why does our universe have to be this connected? Why does Roger have to be the lawyer for the Baroness because he's going to later be somehow, intertwined with Cruella? Because
Well, there's a lot of people named Roger in the world. My college roommate's boyfriend's name was Roger, and he didn't have a dog named Pongo. So maybe this is just some other guy who happens to be named Roger.
you didn't watch the post-credit scene, did you?
No, there was a post-credit scene?
Desi.
I have to go back and watch it.
Wow.
I know that I need to do that for like Marvel. I didn't know that I had to do it for Cruella.
I mean, why not? Here's the thing is that you talked about this coming in is the idea that you know after doing one watching you were not going to be ready for trivia. So
I'll try anyway.
yeah.
I'll
Let,
probably do just as well as I do every other time.
so here, by the way, this is Anita all grown up. She is a reporter, and so she's in taking pictures of the fashion scene. That's her deal. So and at some point, once Estella gets on the Cruella path, she goes to Anita and says, "Hey, I'm going to have you take pictures and write about me." And so she's kind of in on it. That she's one of the few people that knows that who Hannah Montana really is. Right? Most people don't actually know that Cruella and Estella are the same person. Jasper and Horace know, and then Anita knows. So Anita and Roger. I mean, again, if you knew anything about the first one, I think Anita and Roger should trigger, but again, in the very end, it really kind of comes together. So I'm going to throw some trivia questions at you, but I don't know how good you're going to do at this. So just buckle up,
Let's do it.
So there's this montage. There's a lot of really good music in this, and it's not. They made a conscious decision, it seems like, not to make a soundtrack like The Little Mermaid or, using all of the songs from the original 101 Dalmatians movie, which there are only a few. But in this one, they use a lot of really cool, rock music, and I don't think all of it's time appropriate. I think at some point they played One Way or Another by Blondie, which may or may not have fit into this time frame. I'd have to go back
I
and
know
check.
it's supposed to be the 70s.
Yeah. I feel like One Way or Another was more of a early
Was
80s,
it 80s?
but maybe not. So anyway, there's this montage of them where she's talking about Horace, Jasper, and the three of them being good friends, and they're growing up together. And there's a song that's playing during that period, which I'm guessing you don't know what the name of that song was.
I know that at some point they play These Boots Are Made for Walking.
Okay. Any
No,
other
not
any
that
other guess?
song.
No, it wasn't that song.
I'm sorry.
It's She's a Rainbow from the Rolling Stones, because it's the whole she comes in colors everywhere. No? Okay, great. Good, we're on a good roll. When she is a maid in the hotel room, do you know what her name tag says?
Judy?
Norma. When she runs into Art, what's the name of his shop?
I'm so terrible at these. I remember Judy was the name of the birthday cake. I thought for sure you would ask that.
Yeah, we got some people in the chat. 80s is what Rosita's saying, 1978. And then Dawn says she loves that song. So, but it's called Second Time Around. There's big bubble letters over the top of it when he shows up, and he actually, I think, says something about "Welcome to Second Time Around" when she walks in. Do you know what the newspaper is Anita works for?
The Daily Planet.
You're not even trying at this point, are you? Tattletale.
That's a cute name.
Yeah. When Horace and Jasper are doing their hijinks, they drive around in a van. What color is it?
Blue.
Yes. What does it say on the side?
It says something about bug extermination.
Yeah, pest control. That's fine.
Yeah.
I was gonna there's a whole name on it, and I didn't want to go there. Here's one. The woman who Estella thinks is her mom. What's her actual name?
Christy? Cindy?
You're in the right family. It does start with a C. Allison in chat said the Daily Bugle and the Post, so she was pulling at straws too. Nick's maxi van. Come on, Allison. Um, so it's Catherine. So
Catherine.
yeah, so
Okay.
the guy who kind of protected Estella is named John, and his actual in the credits his name is John the valet, but his name is John, and he refers to Catherine a couple times about what a wonderful person she was. Um, did you happen to catch what it said on Estella's tombstone?
It said,
You
"Here
know, it
lies Estella."
said Estella, designer, daughter, dead.
What a terrible tombstone.
I know.
I
That's
hope I
why.
have something better than that.
Yeah, that's why it stood out to me. So, and finally, when Horace is eating his breakfast on the table and she knocks everything off the table, what is the name of the cereal that he's eating?
Crispies.
It
Canine
is.
Crispies?
No, it's not Canine Krispies. It's Cocoa
I know for
Krispies.
sure it was Crispies.
It was definitely
Because he said,
Krispies.
"Oh, you knocked over my Crispies."
Yes, exactly. Um,
Oh,
yeah,
Canine Crispies is from Toy Story,
Canine
not
Crunchies is
101
the
Dal.
one you're thinking of.
Oh,
Yeah,
dang it.
Canine Crunchies can't be beat. Canine Crunchies fun to eat. Um, so yeah, the so when they go, that's you're off the hook from there. So when they go into to this, they're going to steal the necklace, and she comes out, and she's going to be the distraction. And they're going to do it at the Baroness's party. She's going to be the distraction. They go in, and she lights this dress on fire, and it turns red because the whole idea of the night, and they make a big deal of this with Anita, is there was supposed to be no color, just black and white. And actually, those are colors, or I
She
guess,
she pulled a Katniss Everdeen.
yes, she did. The girl on fire. It was actually a very cool thing, and it's like, wow, all right, I'm in. This is exciting. Um, but so they're pulling this distraction where Horace and Jasper are going to go in and steal the necklace, and she's done all this recon, and there are all these cameras in the house. I don't remember cameras being that prevalent that early on, but it seems to be like she's got a full-fledged like 2000 style security system in her house. But you know what? She was probably
But they
rolling in
were on
money.
little black and white screens. So even
So
though the cameras looked up to date, the actual screens that you watched it on were the
ancient.
tiny black and white ones.
Gotcha. So she is distracting everybody while Horace and Jasper try to pull off this and steal the
And
necklace.
Wink,
Can we talk about Wink? Wink is so good. I
he's a
mean,
treasure.
yeah,
He steals the show.
he really kind of does. And you know what? There are a lot
I
of
take back what I said about not wanting a plantation of 101 Chihuahuas. If they were all like Wink, I would do it.
yeah. Do you think they actually got a dog that needed an eye patch, or just, I mean, was that a fashion
No.
choice for him, or
That was probably a couple different dogs, right? Isn't that usually what they do with the
if they
animals in movies? I
if
don't
they
know.
because they go through so many like Milo Notice?
Don't talk like that.
Sorry. Um, so they're gonna go steal the necklace, but lo and behold, the necklace is actually she's wearing it. So which violates her own rule about the color. Interesting. Just saying. Just putting that out there. Because like there was such a little bit of blue ink on Anita's purse that she found that she was just appalled by, and so then
Well,
here's this.
I'm surprised a fashion icon would want to wear the same piece of jewelry multiple times anyway.
Yeah, don't know. Would it make you feel better though if we just took another look at Wink?
Oh, he's so cute. I want to cuddle with him.
Um, yeah. Call the Hook says the ending sequence had an Ocean's 11 vibe to it. Yep. I would agree to that. I mean, every bit
Hmm.
of it did though. All of it. You know, we talked about this with Mother Gothel on again talking about the Tangled review about how masterful her plan was to get Rapunzel back and to make her, you know, want to come back and to dislike Flynn and to distrust people and to, you know, she just it was perfectly executed. All of the plans that Cruella comes up with in this one are perfectly executed, including all of her little like avant-garde shows that she does. The one with the trash, where she like gets dumped out of the trash can and then like comes out of the trash and then rides it out and her train just stretches down the street. So cool. The one with like the projections up on the wall. Although the projections up on the wall reminded me of Electronica slash the Mad Tea Party that they would do at Disney California Adventure with the lights everywhere and like the go-go's.
Oh,
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
I guess I'm not cool enough to go to that.
No, you're not. You're not. But but when all that stuff's happening, it's like, hey, I would have loved to have seen this. Like if this was a thing, this is like the Banksy of fashion, you know, that she's but I feel like she would have been caught, you know, in reality, well, like before this, because you would just have police following yeah, the Baroness
Or
around, because that's the
when
only place
the
she strikes.
when Horace and Jasper like buckle her car doors so that she can't get out, and then Cruella gets on top of the car. Like, I feel like it took them a while to strap the doors of the car. Like, could nobody do anything while they were doing that whole charade?
No, they couldn't. Nobody could.
But
Um,
but she's got men just jumping out of nowhere, like the office linebacker, just like coming in and
tackling poor
tackling.
innocent women.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
But
I
these
agree.
guys can get away with strapping her car
Well,
doors.
that was she was ready for that because she knew Cruella was going to come to the house, so she was prepared for that. But in this one, again, I think that you could have figured out a way to do that. But I think that they established that early on with how good of grifters that Horace and Jasper are, and then them helping her along the way. Although I do think it's as rude and crude and mean as she is to them, the fact that they would have helped her all along with this, I feel like they would have given up a long before the time when they were thrown in jail. Wouldn't you think?
I mean, I would, but I wouldn't be doing these things in the first place. So
Well, let's see.
I'm just
Let's
such a goody goody.
you and I run some cons, and we'll see how many we can do before you get fed up. Let's make it happen. So she finally decides that she's going to have this one final con when she learns that that um, she has not learned yet that the Baroness is her mother. She has decided, though, she's going to have this big, like, elaborate con that she's going to do where she has designed this dress, and the dress is something she knew the Baroness would take, and then she puts, like, basically moth eggs on it, and then makes the Baroness lock everything away, and then the moths eat it from in the inside again. Seems very, again, Ocean's 11 seems very just this over the top plan, and I think that's part of the fun of this movie is all of these little plots and plans and how they work out. So she's got this big plan. She gets chased out of the everybody gets chased out of the building from the moths, and then she's got this huge like grand finale set up where she's doing her own fashion show out by the fountain. Everything's great. Everybody gets away for the night except now at this point, even though the Baroness had kind of thought Estella might be Cruella, she sees Horace and Jasper walking. She's like, okay, those guys, if I follow them, that'll lead me back to her. And then when Cruella comes back thinking she's triumphant, the Baroness is there. And again, it's very intense. Like it said about watching, like your kids watching, like she's got, Horace and Jasper tied up. We think that maybe, something bad might happen to the dogs. Poor Wink. Something could happen to him. I
Oh
know.
my God.
I know. And
I
so
would I would not be okay if something happened to Wink.
she lights the place on fire, assuming that Estella will die in the fire, and then we see the shadow kind of come out as Estella is passing out.
Bruno.
And it's not no, we're not going to talk about Bruno. Come on, it's this it's John the valet, played by Mark Strong. He tells her this whole story about how the Baroness is her mom, and so she is just like lost at this point because this woman tried to kill her. She's evil, she's vicious, she killed her mom, but now she finds out it is her mom. And so guess what, getting the band back together, one more con, one more Ocean's 11 to make the whole thing happen. And so she got to get the whole crew back together. Art's in, Jasper's in, Horace is in, John's in, and so then they make this a whole bunch of costumes, and they're in tribute to Cruella. So there's a whole room full of Cruellas, which is obviously the Baroness's nightmare. So one other trivia question is, how many Cruella wigs were in that room? No, I'm just kidding. No,
101.
Wouldn't that have been cool? I don't know. We got to go back and count now. So anyway, I just, the cons, I think, are part of the thing, and I don't mean cons as in negatives. I mean as in like the long cons that they keep playing are kind of what makes this movie a little bit different. Is it's almost like, you know, just heist after heist, and it just you would think you'd get tired of it because after the fifth one maybe, but it just keeps on going.
Well, so about an hour and 15 minutes or so into the movie, my husband pauses it to go to the restroom. And when he pauses it, I see there's still an hour left of this movie. I thought they were wrapping it up. Like, I think that this movie could have easily been split into two movies. You could have had the one movie where the big twist is, oh my God, the Baroness killed her mom, and then Cruella's gonna, you know, just upstage her and start her own fashion line. Movie one. Movie two is Cruella's still like pulling this long con on the Baroness, and then, oh my God, the big twist is the Baroness is her mom. And I feel like this could have easily been two different movies with two big twists with long heist scenes in each one.
Are you saying this is the Lord of the Rings of live action Disney films?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying.
I know
And instead of the ring being the precious, it's the necklace.
Yep. So in this final con that she's doing, she gets everybody again dressed up as Cruella. She lures the Baroness outside and back to the spot, the scene of the crime, the place where her mother was pushed off the cliff. But there's a lot of reveals in this. Back to your point about this could have been several movies. The first reveal, obviously, is that Luke and Leia are brother and sister. The second one is that no, I'm just so the big reveal
But
at
they
first
kissed.
is that the Baroness kills her mother. That's like she's like, oh my gosh, it wasn't me, it was the Baroness. So you're right, like that could have been the pinnacle of the whole thing. But then it's like, but wait, there's more. You know, she's also your mom, but we don't get that until later. So you know, one of them we learn in Empire, one of them we learn in Jedi, and we're done. It'll be great. So when she is like lured her mom back to the scene of the crime, the Baroness, she's got her right in front of this beautiful matte painting right by the edge of the water, and she's about to, you know, hug her, but she knows that the Baroness is not going to go for that, and so she gets pushed off the cliff. And you know, I think at this point, and this is your first watching of it, did you realize at that point she wasn't going to die?
Oh, I mean, I was convinced that she wasn't going to die. I thought for sure like Horace and Jasper had like a trampoline or something waiting for her at the bottom. I never at any point thought, yes, she's definitely going to die. I thought she faked her death, and that was why she had the narration at the beginning. But no, at no point did I ever think she was actually going to die.
Dawn says I was going to watch after work tonight, but I saw it was 2 hours and 15 minutes, so I passed. You know what? There's a little bit of it with Disney Plus that keeps throwing me off because the credits sometimes are so long that you go, oh my gosh, there's 30 minutes left in this movie, and 20 minutes later the credits roll and you're like, what's the last 10 minutes of? You know, I mean, so it was a long movie, but I do think it's not quite as long as the runtime has you believe in there. So, yeah.
Well, I had to watch, obviously, Cosmic Read live because it was the finale last night. So we didn't start this until after that, which means that we didn't finish this movie until like 12:30 at night. And I was not anticipating such a long evening.
Okay, I'm sorry. I mean,
It's my fault for suggesting it. I was going to say it's your fault, but it is mine.
No, it's also your fault because, I mean, we told everybody last week that this was the movie and you knew you were reviewing it. So, I mean, it's not my fault you wait to the last minute to do your homework.
I wanted it to be fresh.
Guaranteed fresh. Yes, absolutely. Um, so there's this complicated thing where she falls off the cliff, so Estella dies, but luckily Estella had met with a lawyer and left everything to Cruella, and so now she's going to live the rest of her life as Cruella, and Estella has died conveniently, so we never have to talk about Bruno or Estella ever again because she's just gone. She's dead. She's got her tombstone with the you know, daughter designer
But
dead. It's all done.
but if Estella is dead, doesn't the Baroness, isn't she like next in line anyways because she was the mother?
I think
And
A, she's in jail, but B, I think that it's because of like when the Baron died, it went to her because she was married to him. But this is his blood relative, so it goes to his blood relative. You would have to go to somebody who knows a little bit more about like the hierarchy of like royalty in England more than me. But I think that's the case. I think that's what she says when she's with John and he opens up the case and says, "Hey, here's your birth certificate that proves you're the rightful heir to all of that." So when she comes to the house, she says to her, "I've come to evict you," meaning that like I can prove I'm the heir and that this is all belong to me and you're just the woman who married him. So, yeah, I think that's how that works. But when she leaves everything to Cruella, Cruella gets all the accoutrements that make her a horrible human being. She takes down the sign and it now says Hell Hall across the top of it. Horace helped to make this great car that is exactly like the car that we know from her with the devil written at the bottom. He clarifies in narration that it's pronounced, even though it's spelled devil, it's pronounced Deville. And then they get the big house, but she also has the dogs and the Dalmatians, and I feel like she's the character in in the animated is not a dog lover.
especially not Dalmatians.
No.
Or she is such a big dog lover that she just wants to be covered with them all the time. Maybe that's it. She just loves dogs so much, she just wants to be covered in them.
Okay. Um, at the very end, what you missed with the end credits. So there's an end credit scene. It's about 10 minutes from the end. Sorry for anybody who also has not seen this, any spoilers, but we see Roger playing the piano in his apartment, and there's a
Well,
ring at
I
the door.
saw
Go.
at one point with Roger, he was he like pulling stuff out of a closet? And at one point, he pulled out a piano, and I thought, oh, that was an Easter egg because Roger plays the piano in 101 Dalmatians.
Could have been. I mean, they mentioned that he is a musician at some point in there, but so it cuts
Is
to
he?
Roger, and he's sitting here working on a song, and it's basically he's working on the whole Cruella de Vil, which is not quite how that's supposed to roll from the regular movie. But again, we're rewriting the canon with this
But
movie
Cruella and Anita are friends. Um,
from grade school.
in yeah,
Yes.
so that part's accurate.
Yeah. Well, and at first you think Cruella is the devil, but after time has worn away the shock, she goes and she gives nothing, nothing. Okay, great. She goes and she gives these puppies to Roger and to Anita. So here's Pongo. Here's baby Pongo that she leaves. Um,
Oh,
Stephen Crawford, thank you for the $1.99 super chat. Desi, I think you mean wink and not brink. Okay. So in this end bit, he gets Pongo and Anita gets Perdita, and then the movie's over. So they get their puppies that are going to start the next phase of this. So it really kind of is set up to be the next movie, and it could be more about Roger and Anita and the puppies, but I feel like that they've softened the blow so much by the fact that she could have killed the puppies to make the coat, and she didn't. They refer to that. They could have she could have just kept the three big dogs she had and been done with it. She doesn't need the Dalmatian puppies, and she actually gave them the dogs in this in this story. So it seems like that
and does
diffuses
that
any
mean that
possibility.
Pongo and Perdita are from the same litter, meaning that they're brother and sister, meaning that any puppies that they make?
I can't speak to that. I don't really. I think you're getting this is about like the whole childbirth in bed thing. We're not gonna we're gonna do that. But when we leave Roger at the end, he's in his flat playing piano. And by the way, I think that's kind of rude if he's in like a flat and he's playing piano. The people who live above and below him, this is just kind of cruel. Unless this is a townhouse or I don't know.
I think
Anyway,
he has a townhouse in the movie.
you mean the animated?
Yes.
Okay. So, basically, this is the movie. One other thing that I've noticed about this, and I'm wondering, this is kind of like sort of a hot take, is that because she goes back and forth between Cruella and Estella, and I kind of leaned toward this before. Did her mom create this divide, and does she have multiple personalities, and is what we're watching really kind of her descent into madness more than just a
I
a,
mean,
a, a rollicking frolic through Disney history?
it's probably a little bit of nature versus nurture, where she's got the nature from the evil mom, but the nurture from the good mom. So that is the difference between Estella and Cruella. Um, but apparently, in this case, nature wins out and she turns crazy
Is it a
and evil.
tell? Is it a tell when she is in the personality of Cruella that she always, as Cruella, has a cane?
Always? I don't know. Maybe. I thought it was just a tell that like her hair is out
Uh,
versus under a hat or a wig or something else.
No, I think that's probably. I mean, a dead giveaway is about the hair, but there's a scene where she goes back to see Art before she does her big plan, and she's dressed kind of like she's kind of plain, but she's using an umbrella as a cane at that point. So, um, anyway, I just that's the thing I noticed. It seemed like every time she was Cruella, she had the cane, and she didn't seem to need it. It seemed to be a fashion statement, but also maybe sort of a power play. But I don't think that that's something that the character in the anime movie had. Is that she had her cigarette is what she carried with her most of the time, and her boa.
What what year did the animated movie come out? Because
Seven.
if this is supposed to be set in the 70s, I'm just not sure if this is a true prequel because I feel like
Oh, I don't
it
think
was
that.
set earlier.
I'm about to say I don't think that the time is important in that, but it was 1961 when the first one came out.
Okay.
So, um, so one other thing that strikes me about this is as we've seen, there's a ton of content about 101 Dalmatians. This is a big franchise. This was still part of like Walt's generation of movies too. This was kind of near the end. I think the Jungle Book was the last movie that he touched, but this was
Yes.
1961. Um, why isn't there more representation of 101 Dalmatians in the parks? Everybody loves puppies. People seem to like this
We
movie.
have Tonys. No, wait, I'm sorry. I was thinking of the wrong dogs. What am I talking about? Never mind. I'm insane. Don't listen to me.
Okay,
Wrong
well, I mean,
dogs.
yeah. But I mean, like a 101 Dalmatians dark ride would be awesome. I mean, you could have like the all 101 like represented throughout the attraction. It could be like a chase thing with Cruella chasing them or chasing you. I don't know why they didn't do that. It feels like it would have been a good fit. I get why you don't have like a lot of walk around characters, because I think that Disney tries to make the animals most of the time only like the human form animals like Zootopia or Robin Hood, but not any that are just like you don't see a lot of Oliver and Company and that kind of thing.
But you do see Cruella during like the villains after hours.
Yes. That's another thing too, is that at Disney California Adventure for Oogie Boogie, they had this Cruella as one of the like the stops that you got to
Oh, this
see.
one?
She was amazing. It was one of my favorite
Oh,
things
really?
about Oogie Boogie Bash, was that they had Sid from Toy Story. They had Agatha uh, uh, at Avengers Campus, and
From
then
WandaVision.
and then they had Cruella, and it was really cool. Like she was doing this whole like fashion thing, and there was a red carpet in front of the stage, and she would talk to the kids, and they would walk the red carpet, and she would comment on their clothes and the whole thing, and it was really neat to see. So I
I
don't
wonder
know.
how they decide who gets to be a face character and who has to have like a head. Like, why is Cruella and Gaston face characters, but then like Jafar has to have a head? Or why is Sid a face character, but Miguel has to have a head?
These are very good questions, and I don't have the answers. Um, I think there's a
I
guy
need
named.
answers, Rob.
I think they put the sorting hat on the character, and they just decide that way if which way they're going. I just look at this and think that there's two Cruellas now, and I feel like anytime you're going to be in the Magic Kingdom, I don't think you'd see this Cruella. I think that for places like California Adventure, I feel like places like the studios, maybe you would see this Cruella there. But I feel like that the Cruella in Disneyland and Magic Kingdom has to be like the animated 101 Dalmatians version of
Hmm.
Cruella. So I mean, when you see Aladdin, to your point, as a face character, and then you see like somebody dressed as Aladdin from the movie, like the Will Smith movie, it would be just a different costume, but it's still Aladdin. Same thing with Jasmine. This one, it is a little bit different because I think there's the caricature of the smoking, you know, uh, long yellow coat um, over the top, and then there's this Cruella from this movie. I think it was very well done. I think the first time when I saw them announce that Emma Stone was going to be this Cruella, I thought that was amazing. But again, it's weird to me that everybody else is British and that she's trying. She is being she's an English
I
actress.
gotta look up this Horace actor now because I thought for sure his accent was faked and that he was American. Just because I've seen him in Cobra Kai as Stingray, and he just, I don't know, that sounded real, and I thought that his Horace accent
You're
sounded
right.
fake.
No, I'm looking at it. You're right. Paul Walter Hauser is an American actor and comedian, and played in films like Cruella, I, Tanya, Late Night, and blah blah blah. So you're
There
right.
was at one point when she was driving that she was driving on the left side of the car. And I was like, I thought this was supposed to be in London. Why wouldn't she be driving on the right side of the car?
Yes, I think it's the make of the car. I thought that myself, but I think it's the make of the car. Um, uh, just looking at the comments, Desi is cray cray. Desi cray cray.
It's true.
They were the 101 Dalmatians were in Kingdom Hearts. There was a Secret Life of Pets in Universal Studios Hollywood. Okay. Um, and then there was make 101 blind bag wish. No, do not make 101 blind bag wishables because then I'll have to have them
When are we
all.
going to start selling
No,
the
nope, nope. Time out.
Tom
Don't.
Wishables?
Nope. But
We need
but
those on the carousel of products. Come on,
sure.
Rob.
But the thing about the like 101 blind bag, just the seven dwarves were just a nightmare for the wishables. So I can't imagine having like that many. I think McDonald's actually did 101 Dalmatian toys, 101 different toys for 101 Dalmatians at one point.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Uh,
crazy.
yeah, I don't need that in my life again either. I don't think I ever got more than one or two of those, as opposed to the 50 that they did for the 50th anniversary. So, I think unless there's anything else that you have on this one, I think we're probably going to wrap this one up. Did you have anything else? Again, I know that this is still fresh in your mind. So, thank you guys for watching. Before we go any further, please give us a thumbs up if you haven't already. It helps people find the show. Next week we will be doing, again at her behest, I had something else planned, but she's like, no, 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 Boba Fett's final episode is tomorrow. Let's do Book of Boba Fett, review the series.
We asked the Wigs what they wanted. We gave them three choices, and Boba Fett got the most votes. So it wasn't just me, but I'm super excited about it because uh, every time I watch Deep in the Plus when I'm not on it, I always hijack the chat and we wind up talking about Star Wars anyways. So being able to actually talk about Star Wars on Deep in the Plus is really going to be like a dream come true.
Well, honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, I think Patrick was the one who said this first, not me, or not you. And he's in the chat right now, and I said something to him about being on, and he's not. So I
He's
think
not.
if you guys are in Discord, please annoy Patrick until he agrees to be on next week's panel about Book of Boba Fett. So if you could do that, that would be great. Because
Do
I
it.
do think that he probably suggested it, and you probably seconded it, or somewhere along that line. And then we asked the Wigs. Uh, but the other one was Xenon. We will end up doing Xenon at some point, but for the next one, we will do Book of Boba Fett next week. But before that, Desi, big question. Got to ask you this. Can't let you go without asking you this big, important question. Are you ready? Are you sitting? Are you sitting down? Are you
I
ready
don't
for
think I'm
this?
ready.
You got to be ready because Desi, I'm going to ask you this question.
Okay.
Would you recommend this movie?
I'm not sure.
I don't think that's one of
I
the
just
answers.
I don't love the Disney live action stuff in general. I think of the live action movies, I probably did enjoy this one more than the rest just because it was a different story. Um, and I still liked it better, I think, than Maleficent. Um, but for people with kids, this is not, I would not recommend this for kids. But then if you're not watching it with your kids, there's probably other better movies that you would be more interested in on Disney Plus. So I don't know. I'm torn. I'm sorry, I can't give you a real answer. Definitely no for the kids. Maybe if you got nothing else going on, maybe check it out. But I didn't think that it was like a must see, but I didn't hate it either.
That
I liked it.
that's it. That's all you got for us. You know what? I would say I would recommend it, and here's why: is that it feels like it's not necessarily just a knockoff, another live action movie. It's a different movie. Like I talked about, it has a heist vibe to it, and it feels like it's a story we haven't seen before. We didn't know this story before, even though there are Easter eggs and hints to the original 101 Dalmatians. You don't have to have seen that for that to be a factor. So I would recommend you see this because again, probably a ton of people didn't see this in the theater. I think it had like a budget of somewhere around 100 million. It made about 200 million at the box office, about 20 million on Disney Premier Access. So I think there are a lot of people who still haven't seen it, but I enjoyed it, and I think it had a really cool vibe to it. I think that just this sort of like kind of art atmosphere that it has in it is something that a lot of people would appreciate, and it's not something that it feels old. But I do agree that I don't think it's something necessarily for kids. So I do think it's something that you should watch. But you let us know in the comments below. Tell us whether you think this was a good movie. You would recommend it to any of your friends. We definitely want to hear from you on that because I have a positive vibe for this one. I really do. I think it was well done. A lot of the
I
live
liked
actions
it.
I question because of them being just a remake of the original shot for
Hmm.
shot. The worst one being The Lion King, which is the one I had the most like excitement for, but it is a shot for shot remake and you might as well watch the original. We did a review on that, Eric Wolf and I, on Deep in the Plus, comparing the two, and we did a comparison of Aladdin comparing the two, and I think Aladdin is a different movie from the animated, but it follows along the same suit. This one, to me, we couldn't really compare it to the live action 101 Dalmatians or the animated 101 Dalmatians because it's really a different movie. It's sort of an origin story for Cruella de Vil in the vein of Maleficent, where you are endeared to this character that you've spent so much time feeling like is a villain. So
Yeah, that's
that's
why
my
I
take on it.
compared it to Maleficent because I thought if I'm going to compare it to anything, that's probably the one that makes the most sense just because it's like a backstory of the villain from the villain's point of view.
Yep.
Um, but I think I liked this one better than Maleficent.
Okay, that's fair. All right, thank you guys so much for watching. Again, don't forget Park Center every Sunday night. We have the most recent episode, we went through all of the options with annual passes, and it was very interesting, the conversation we had about annual passes. And I think we've got Desi questioning some decisions that she's made in the past about annual passes. But watch the show.
Oh, my husband now thinks that we need to get universal passes.
So again, that was on Park Center last week. There will not be one next week because of the Super Bowl, because we're trying to, again, not take away the viewership of the Super Bowl. But then on Tuesday night next week, we will be doing Book of Boba Fett on Deep in the Plus, and we hope you will join us. Thank you guys so much. Have a great night. Have a great week. Be safe. Take care.